morning and welcome to NYSE Live. I'm Ashley Mastronardi. Stocks are little changed this morning as the Dow looks to build off of a fresh record. The large cap S&P 500 will also look to extend gains of more than 1.5% after President Donald Trump announced this past weekend that the U.S. and Iran reached a deal to end the conflict in the Middle East. The price of ICE Brent crude fell sharply on the news, dipping below $80 a barrel this morning for the first time since early March. Investors will also continue to monitor the tech trade. The Global X NYSE 100 ETF, which tracks innovative companies, rose by more than 3.3% to begin the week. Plus, the Fed remains in focus as new chair Kevin Warsh and policymakers will begin their two-day meeting today. A decision on interest rates is due Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Here's what else is on tap this hour. NYSE-listed payments giant Visa recently held its Payments Forum event in San Francisco, with much of the focus on AI and digital assets. You're going to want to hear what Kim Lawrence, its regional president of North America, told me about how it's working with clients on both fronts. Earlier this morning, telehealth platform OpenLoop just unveiled its latest offering called Launchpad. Its CEO, John Lensing, will join me to explain why this serves as the missing piece in healthcare. And at 9:30 Eastern, NYSE-listed PSE&G will ring the opening bell as it commemorates more than 120 years of delivering safe and reliable energy to customers in New Jersey and Long Island. But we begin with the markets, as we always do here on NYSE Live. Joining me now is Kevin Mon, President and CIO of Hennion & Walsh. Kevin, welcome.
It's good to be back.
Good to see you.
You as well.
All right, so we're coming off of a fresh record that the Dow hit yesterday. What do you expect in today's session?
Yeah, a deal has been reached, we believe. The Strait will be open, we believe, and oil prices have come down and the market has rallied, for now at least. So I think we're going to continue to watch the progress of the Iran-U.S. deal to see if that's really going to come to fruition without conditions. And then all investors' attention is going to shift now to the Federal Reserve, with the first meeting under new chair Kevin Warsh taking place today, ending tomorrow, and then we get the press conference there afterwards. I don't believe anybody is expecting any changes to interest rates, but we are expecting a lot of changes to the way in which the Federal Reserve operates, and we'll start learning more about that tomorrow, Ashley.
When you talked about the U.S.-Iran peace deal, you said for now. Do you think it is going to come to fruition? What is your prediction?
I do believe that this time is real, but remember, what they sign on Friday, hopefully in Switzerland, just gives them a pause to negotiate the finer details of the ultimate deal. So there's going to be a lot of potential volatility between now and the end of that truce period. So that leaves me thinking that will there be more volatility ahead? Will oil remain volatile? And will the markets actually move past the U.S.-Iran conflict and focus back again on SpaceX, the AI revolution, and interest rates in the economy once again?
How much of the market do you think is being driven by tech right now versus geopolitical, issues overseas?
Sure. If we look to last Friday, a lot of the market is being driven tech by right now, if you consider SpaceX to be a technology company, which I do. And I think that IPO was very, very helpful to the psyche of a lot of companies, private companies, looking to potentially become public. And we might see more IPOs taking place later this year, not just on the NASDAQ, but right down here at the New York Stock Exchange as well.
And speaking of the AI tech trade, I understand that you have a nickname for the 7 stocks that you're focusing on, your very own Mag 7. What is it?
So I think it's time for investors not necessarily to abandon the Mag 7, but perhaps consider a different path forward. Obviously, in the past few years, the Mag 7 has contributed to the majority of the returns in the stock market. But this year, it's actually a detractor. So let's broaden out the scope of the AI trade and look for the AI Revolution 7, the Air 7, which I have coined as a term. And I drew those 7 names from 2 of our strategies at Smart Trust. And we're looking at not just the semiconductors plays, but hardware plays, software plays, data center plays, cooling plays, and power plays. If you put that all together, not only will you have outperformed the Mag 7 over the last year, but you'll also have provided yourself with what I believe to be a more diversified path going forward.
What are the stocks in the Air 7?
Sure. 2 of them I borrow from the Mag 7, those, of course, being NVIDIA and Alphabet, but then I lean into the largest dedicated chip foundry in the world, that being Taiwan Semiconductor, who boasts NVIDIA as their client. And then the AI revolution, to me, Ashley, starts and stops without memory and power. When I think of memory, I think of Micron technology. But we all know that data centers run tremendously hot, right? So they need cooling solutions. So I think of a data center, how about Digital Realty? The largest data center company in the world with over 300 data centers worldwide. The cooling solutions could be provided by companies such as Vertiv. Or how about Modine Manufacturing or Comfort Systems? And last but not least, the power component. I looked to the utility sector, and I picked one in particular, American Electric Power. They supply power to over 5 million customers right now in 11 different states, including the state of Virginia, which, as we know, has become the data center capital of the world.
As you just mentioned, there seems to be an ecosystem in the AI trade, and all these companies work together to support each other. What do investors need to be mindful of when investing in tech or AI?
Sure. For now, I would focus less on who's spending the money and more on who's receiving the money, because there's a lot of people calling into question, and perhaps rightly so, all of the money that's being spent right now to get ahead in the AI race. But that doesn't mean that the growth opportunities are with the spenders, but rather the receivers, the data center construction companies, the data center connectivity companies, the HVAC providers, the memory providers, the chip manufacturers, and of course the power plays. If you're looking for growth opportunities today, focus on who's receiving the money. If you're looking for growth opportunities tomorrow, then look at the companies spending the money.
What is the health of the market right now?
I think if you look at the market, it's trading a little bit rich here on a current PE basis and a forward PE basis. We had a real strong first quarter in terms of earnings growth. Will that continue? Time will tell. But it's all going to focus back on spending once again. Will companies continue to spend on AI infrastructure, and will consumers continue to spend within the economy? If we remain in this no hire, no fire type of labor market, I think the consumer remains relatively strong and the economy should continue to grow. Not at a gangbuster pace, but at a reasonable pace. So if we keep unemployment below 4.5%, economic growth above 2%, and we start to see inflation coming back down below 3%, that should be constructive for the markets.
Is there anything that you're following right now that you think we might hear about in the coming weeks, months?
I would say the Federal Reserve. And we'll learn more about that tomorrow, clearly, because Kevin Warsh has promised to change the mechanics and the way in which the Federal Reserve operates, to look at how transparent they are today and perhaps should be in the future. One thing he hasn't promised, though, is to lower interest rates. And I think in this environment, we shouldn't expect too much from the Federal Reserve. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get no interest rate activity this year. They said in March they might cut by one time 25 basis points. The bond market thinks they may actually raise interest rates now by the end of the year. I'm really interested to see what the Federal Reserve thinks tomorrow.
All right. Kevin Mon, President and CIO at Hennion and Walsh, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Ashley. It's my pleasure.
At the New York Stock Exchange. Coming up, last week's Visa Payments Forum brought together leaders from across the financial ecosystem. One executive told me what themes were driving the conversation. Stay tuned to hear what she had to say.
It means so much to stand here today on International Women's Day at the New York Stock Exchange. When I look around this room at the leaders, entrepreneurs, advocates, and change makers, I feel something powerful. True power isn't just building something for yourself, it's building something that lifts other women up. That's why I'm using this platform to highlight women-owned small businesses. Gloria once said that dreaming is a form of planning. I dreamed of building something of my own. Today, that dream has become a responsibility. Because the future of finance, leadership, and this economy is unapologetically female. I'm looking forward to ringing the bell and celebrating with you all afterward. Loves it.
have changed the entire baby food industry.
To all of these little kids who inspire us and make us want to build a better world, we're actually doing it.
You guys have been there since the very beginning. You deserve everything that happens today.
Welcome back to NYSE Live. Last week, leaders from across the financial ecosystem convened in San Francisco at the Visa Payments Forum. There it announced new advancements in AI, stablecoins, and tokenization. I sat down with Kim Lawrence, Visa's regional president of North America, to discuss what themes were driving the conversation at the event. Take a listen.
Lots of future activities that are taking shape right now: agentic commerce, stablecoin, some of the future sounding things. But many of our clients and partners that are here with us today are also really focused on, getting it right day in and day out. As we talked about today, it's sort of getting the basics right. So if there's one thing that I hope that everyone takes away, as with Visa as their partner, they can rely on us to kind of chart a path into the future and help them with getting the basics right day in and day out. So just really to put us to work for them.
And I understand this is an invite-only client event. 2,000 clients are here. Who are your clients?
Yeah, it's a great question. We have just over 2,000 clients here with us. The biggest event we've had so far, and it's global in nature. So we have North America clients from US and Canada. We have Asia Pacific, Latin America, and the Caribbean are here as well. And our clients make up a broad array of payments players. So everyone from financial institutions who issue Visa credentials, merchants who choose to accept them, their acquirers, processors, fintech, tech partners, and the list goes on. So a very expansive group of folks here with us this week.
The pace of payments is changing rapidly. How are you helping your North American customers manage this moment?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, the conversation this morning with some of the keynote speakers talked about, this isn't like one or two big things happening in the world right now. It's like 6, 7, 8, 9 of them happening all at the same time. And so what we're really here to do is help ensure that clients have services and solutions that they need to really lay the foundation, ensure that the ecosystem is safe, secure, reliable, what they've come to rely on from Visa for so many years, and then help them chart their strategies as they move into the agentic space. They work with AI tools and explore what they're doing with stablecoin.
You've mentioned AI, you've mentioned agentic technology, AI agents. What are they, and how are they going to be transforming the payments industry?
Well, the real question is when, and who knows when, who knows how, really. But I think, looking at what AI is doing, transforming everything we do, right? We used to just search for things on the internet, and now it's much more about giving us answers. The way we're discovering everything from learning to shopping has changed over the past couple of years. And agentic is really the concept of, me giving agency to technology to go shopping on my behalf or to do things on my behalf. So who knows exactly when that's going to get sorted. But what we're working on right now is how do we make that work? How do we make sure payments are embedded in that? How do we make sure security and safety is a critical piece of that? And customers start getting comfortable with it.
You mentioned Gen Z in your keynote earlier. What are their shopping habits like, and how do you think they will impact the payments industry?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. One of the things I talked about was the fact that, Gen Z, in many ways, they look and they're starting to act just like, I'll say myself, Gen X did 30 years ago. And so, one of the key things that we see in, the next generation coming up through payments is their love and appreciation for debit, right? Debit is usually the entry product that, people get used to paying with. And 81% of Gen Z customers own a debit card, and they use it for everything. They really like debit. And, if history repeats itself, which it typically does, we expect that, as Gen Z gets older and they're employed and their wealth starts to grow, they'll start to shift from debit to credit, just like generations before them have.
And besides Gen Z, where are the biggest opportunities right now for growth?
Yeah, so, I'll speak about the U.S. specifically. I mean, the U.S. is known as being, a pretty mature payments market. We've been growing digital payments for years, and you can use your card almost anywhere, right? Or your phone or your credential. The places you still can't use your card to pay, a lot of the kind of typical bill pay categories. So even think about things like if you're repaying, your credit card bill, or you're paying your mortgage or rent or utilities. These are some of the categories that we refer to as being still very underpenetrated. Either in many cases, there's no acceptance. You can't use your card or your credential to pay. Or if you can, there's hurdles to usage. And so we don't see usage increasing. So we've been really focused on how do we get some of these segments fine-tuned and working properly for card payments. And loan repayment's a great example where we've just signed some partnership deals with enablers who, sit in between and help with loan repayment. And we're starting to see that pay dividends, and we're starting to see debit volume pick up in some of those categories.
The 2026 FIFA World Cup is upon us. It is being hosted across North America, Canada, Mexico, the U.S. Visa is a major sponsor. How are you seizing the opportunity?
We are super excited. Everyone's talking about this as sort of a once-in-a-lifetime FIFA. 104 matches, 16 cities across Canada, the U.S., and Mexico. We have been working and getting ready for this FIFA for the better part of 2 years. We are doing everything from client activations, massive client activations. We're doing interesting things where clients are taking, assets that, from Visa and FIFA together and really promoting these once-in-a-lifetime experiences for their cardholders to be part of. So everything from, dinner on the pitch, which is something that JPMorgan Chase is doing. In Kansas City, our Commerce Bank partners have taken over their local Ferris wheel and have kind of decorated it all out for FIFA, and they're offering promotional rides on the Ferris wheel, all kinds of fun, exciting things that are happening for cardholders and our clients. And then it's a fantastic opportunity for us to host clients and really get, lots of consumers in on the action. It's just really exciting.
Thanks, Kim Lawrence from Visa, for that interview. Coming up, telehealth company Open Loop says its new offering is the missing piece for the healthcare industry. Its CEO is going to take us through how next.
The New York Stock Exchange is a cathedral of the capital markets. So there are a few places more fitting to consider the future of the American financial system than this one.
At the NYSE, we applaud SEC Chairman Atkins and the entire Trump administration for working to reduce the burdens on existing public companies and soon-to-be public companies.
I believe that we will ensure that the American story, which began in many ways just steps outside, is preserved not by memory or speeches alone, but by the courage of those who are determined to chart its next chapter.
When we talk about the titans of industry and we talk about the titans of finance, there's a reason that we're all coming together still after all these years to the corner of Wall and Broad Street.
We are ringing the opening bell this morning to celebrate the launch of 6 new ETFs by direction.
We look forward to many more. I mean, today's 6, we're going to do hundreds more.
The New York Stock Exchange, the home of ETFs.
Welcome back to NYSE Live. Digital health platform OpenLoop just announced the rollout of Launchpad earlier today. It will allow any brand to build a fully compliant virtual care company in just 24 hours. And joining me now is John Lensing. He is the co-founder and CEO of OpenLoop. John, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me this morning, Ashley.
So great to have you. Congratulations on the news. So 24 hours is pretty fast to build a virtual care company. How does your technology work?
Yeah, it's incredibly simple. So any brand or business that already has an audience, they can simply log into Launchpad, tell us a little about what their audience looks like. Like if they're a gym, they have these gym goers, or if they are a dating app, this is sort of what their dating app member profile looks like, or they're an influencer, hey, this is the type of followers and content that we generate. They tell us a little about that. It spins them up a brand, what they want their logo, what they want their colors to look like, all AI generated. And within a few hours, they're able to turn on a fully compliant virtual care offering that they can now allow their audience to utilize. So it's a very simple process for them.
All right, and what types of services does Launchpad provide?
Think about everything from basic sort of urgent care types of services to generalized men's health, generalized women's health, dermatologic products, sexual and reproductive health care, hormone therapies, a wide variety depending on sort of what clinical services a particular audience may best need or require at that time point.
All right, and you've said that Launchpad offers the missing piece for healthcare. What kind of gap do you see in the market?
I think, access gets confused at times. It's a term that we at OpenLoop consider to be synonymous with convenience. And our current healthcare system is not convenient for the patients that utilize it, right? It takes oftentimes months to get in within a clinician. It's not accessible in all rural parts. There's doctor and nurse shortages. And so when we think about what is actually convenient and therefore accessible for individuals, it's about taking businesses and brands that have already built trust with the audiences they have and through them meet these patients where they're at. So when a fitness brand can actually come in and start offering now a weight loss program, or a supplement company can now offer hormone health support, that care actually ends up getting closer to the people who really need it. So we consider and take that convenience aspect incredibly seriously, and that's what we believe Launchpad does. Make it incredibly convenient and accessible for these patients to get the care that they need.
And how does Launchpad make companies more efficient?
Yeah, so Launchpad is a massive revenue unlock for these companies. In today's day and age, you've seen it across a variety of different, CPG, consumer product goods companies. There is massively rising customer acquisition costs. Digital marketing is just getting, more and more saturated out there. And so a lot of these companies are trying to figure out, how do I take an existing audience that I already have, but how do I activate them into a new revenue stream? And so that's what Launchpad does for these companies. It allows them to take their already captured audience that they've already paid to acquire, that they're continuing to service within their core business, but now activate them into a brand new revenue stream within a service line that actually resonates for that audience.
And how do you navigate the regulatory environment with laws such as HIPAA?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So again, our partners, this product, this service for them is completely out of the box. They don't have to think about that. OpenLoop manages and runs all of the care for these patients. We are the ones who take all the responsibility for HIPAA, for SOC 2 certifications, for all the different state licensure that's required to see these patients across the country. Our partners don't have to worry about that. That's a responsibility that falls on us.
All right, and what's next?
What's next? It's about expansion of this access, right? It's about getting this point of care into as many hands as possible. I think Launchpad has some far-reaching implications for the different types of businesses and partners that we can work with. So while we're sort of single-threaded right now on a few different customer archetypes, we're really focused on broader expansion who are the players out there that control broad swaths of audience members that we could help leverage and get care into. And then, I think second priority for us is about expanding the types of care that can be offered virtually. So a lot on our plate right now.
All right, exciting stuff. John Lensing, co-founder and CEO of Open Loop, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
In other health news, AI tech bio and precision medicine company Caris Life Sciences announced its dual listing on NYSE Texas, effective on Wednesday. The firm says the move reflects its continued growth as a public company and its deep roots in Texas. In a statement, NYSE President Lynn Martin said, quote, Caris is exactly the kind of innovative company that NYSE Texas was designed to celebrate and support, end quote. Coming up, NYSE-listed PSE&G will ring the opening bell. There's the podium. They'll be up there soon. Don't go anywhere.
"16 years ago, an anonymous person released an idea onto the internet. No identity, no institution behind it, no marketing strategy. It was just a white paper and a challenge to everything we thought about money. What if money were open instead of closed? What if it belonged to everyone instead of being controlled by a few? Bitcoin survived every attempt to kill it because the idea itself was stronger than the forces that tried to stop it. And now, today, inside one of the most iconic institutions in the world of finance, we honor a creator who never asked for credit, never stood in front of cameras, and ultimately stepped away so that the idea could stand on its own. Satoshi Nakamoto."
Why are we here? Because Magnum Ice Cream Company is an ambitious company. We're all about growth. And for growth, you need people and you need to have belief that focus on only ice cream will propel this business. These folks here in the room wake up every morning thinking about ice cream, and they go to bed thinking about ice cream. And that's why it will be a successful company that delights the world with unbelievable products.
Welcome back to NYSE Live. In just a moment, Public Service Enterprise Group, better known as PSE&G, they're going to ring the opening bell. The company is on hand to celebrate more than 120 years of delivering safe and reliable energy to customers across New Jersey and more than a decade of service to the communities across Long Island. Its subsidiary in New Jersey, PSE&G, serves roughly 2.4 million electric and 1.9 million gas customers. You just saw PSE&G Chairman and CEO and President Ralph LaRosa ring the opening bell, and the U.S. stock market is officially open For Trade, joining me now is Ted Thatcher, founder and president of Bright Lake Wealth Management. Ted, welcome.
It's great to be with you, Ashley.
So great to see you again and have you here in person. So as Dow coming off a record close yesterday, what do you think is going to happen in today's session?
You know, it's been a really green market this week. Obviously, all the excitement around SpaceX's IPO has continued into this week. And over the weekend, I've been calling this week basically the peace deal put in the markets. We got obviously great headlines about the U.S. and Iran coming to some kind of agreement here. It's set to be signed, looks like on Friday. We're getting more and more details about that. We see oil coming down a whole bunch yesterday, obviously when the futures opened on Sunday. And this morning, we're seeing WTI below 80. And so this is a good sign for the markets. I think it's driven a lot of green this week, and hopefully it's a good sign for consumers as well.
We keep seeing the markets go high whenever we would hear news of a peace deal. Do you think it's actually going to come to fruition? And why do investors like this so much?
You know, I think it's definitely not the first time we thought we were going to get peace and, didn't get it, right? But the truth is I do think that there are more legs to this agreement. The truth is not only the U.S. administration, the president has recognized this, but of course the Iranian media and the heads of state there have also recognized it. And so as the details have come out, it looks like there are specific concessions being made on both sides, especially financially by the United States. And so that's why I'm a little bit more hopeful this time, again, because there's a mutual recognition, actually.
And how do you think that this news of this peace deal will impact the Fed? They're going to come down with their next decision tomorrow. Largely believe that they won't change anything, sure. But do you think it's going to move the needle at all?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Kevin Warsh is in the batter's box for the first time at the helm. It's really exciting. I'm interested to see exactly what narrative he takes. Ultimately, I think his first and primary goal is going to be to win the credibility of the marketplace. And so, some of this narrative around whether AI is going to be deflationary or not has been something he has put out there. I think that he would be wise not to dive into that narrative just yet. That may be the case that AI is deflationary, but consumers aren't seeing that yet. And he got a nice, I would say, slow pitch because of the peace deal. He actually has, I would say, some light at the end of the tunnel in the supply constraint that has been driving the cost of energy so high.
You talked about him gaining confidence from investors. What does he have to do in order to get that confidence?
Ultimately, I think he has to be data-driven here. At the end, consumers have been under pressure. We see it in all the headline inflation numbers. PPI at 6.5, CPI at 4.2. Obviously, the PCE number. It's been putting consumers under pressure. I think very thankfully, it hasn't filtered all the way through to the core numbers yet. But if he can recognize that and say, hey, we're going to now walk through what has basically been a bowling ball that's going through the boa constrictor of the economy with these higher energy prices, I think that understanding that, recognizing that, I guess, pain, and then kind of showing us where the off-ramp is would really win credibility with investors.
You talked about all these different data points, but what economic metric ultimately is going to decide the Fed's rate path forward for the rest of 2026?
Sure. Obviously the Fed deals with its dual mandate, right? It's going to try to keep unemployment low and inflation, in check. I think fundamentally, if we see inflation come down, that is really what's going to open the door to a potential lowering cycle. If we don't see that, I just don't think that there is a reasonable data-driven case for that to happen. Obviously we saw better employment numbers, 2 Fridays ago. That kind of spooked the markets a little bit. Good news ended up being bad news. And so if we see employment stay with where it's at, ultimately I think inflation is going to be the deciding factor.
And I understand you are paying very close attention to the state of the consumer. How do they play into this larger story?
Yeah, because of the inflation that we've seen for the first time in a little while now, a couple of years, we saw wages and inflation kind of go opposite. So inflation's outpacing wages for consumers right now. We know that, we can look at the consumer sentiment, the consumer confidence numbers generally have been near historic lows. So the consumer is absolutely under pressure. But what I also am looking at with consumers is not just that the sentiment number might be low, but I also want to look at certainly where their behavior takes us. So what are the retail sales numbers actually telling us? And so consumers may say, hey, I'm under pressure. Obviously, we're feeling the effects of inflation, whether it's at the pump or at the grocery store, but they are still spending. They are still going out, living their day-to-day lives. And I think that basically tells me that the consumer is a little bit stronger than sometimes we give them credit for.
Right, and any advice that you're giving clients right now amid all of this Well, it's a rally, but I was going to say choppiness, but we might be past it.
Yeah, people have talked about whether we might see a little bit of a pullback. Obviously, we've had a nice rally, and so investors, I think, need to be conscious about not letting, I would say, the fear of missing out, FOMO, being an investment strategy with names like SpaceX coming to market and so many things. We want to use a gambling term, chase it if we're not careful. That's not an investment strategy at all. I always tell investors to be systematic with their approach. Hey, if we want to get into a great growth company, I think that might be a good idea, but let's be thoughtful about it. Let's use the 30-40-30 approach. Maybe pick a time frame, maybe 3 months, 6 months, a year. Start with 30%. Halfway through that time frame, add the next 40%, and then, of course, add 30 on the back end.
All right, Ted Thatcher, founder and president of Bright Lake Wealth Management. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
In other news, the World Cup is underway with sports fans around the globe focusing their attention on soccer. NYSE-listed Flutter Entertainment is united by the game, bringing fans closer to the biggest sporting event in history through its array of brands. Here's a closer look at what Flutter has in store. A trio of matches are on today's slate, featuring some of the world's biggest stars. Kylian Mbappe in France will take on Senegal right across the Hudson River at MetLife Stadium at 3 p.m. Eastern. Then Norway, led by striker Erling Haaland, will play its first World Cup match since 1998 when it takes on Iraq at 6 p.m. Eastern. And at 9 p.m. Eastern, Lionel Messi and defending champion Argentina will face Algeria. Still to come, the Reindustrialized Summit commences today from the Motor City. The event's co-founder will tell us what's in store. Elsewhere, fusion energy company Helion recently announced that it raised $465 million in Series G funding. Its chief financial officer reveals how it's allocating the fresh capital. And quantum computing firm QOQC recently announced a 9-figure funding round of its own. Its CEO is going to join me here in studio to share the details. Stick around.
I'm just so honored and so grateful to you, Lynn, for welcoming us to announce our Time Person of the Year, the Architects of AI. I want to take a moment to welcome Chris Lehane. You have been an incredible driving force, making AI accessible to everyone, and we are so glad that you are here with us today. We are focusing on the leaders and the people and the humans that are imagining and building this future that we will all be living in.
We had somebody ask us recently, why are you going out at this time of the year? The reason we're doing this is for our people. It's not about us. Our motivation for doing this transaction is to make this a better place for the next generation. We have a stewardship responsibility to our people to give them a professional and a financial opportunity that's better than what we have. And what I am very proud of is the team that we have here. This is a true partnership in every sense of the word.
Welcome back to NYSE Live. Today marks the start of the Reindustrialize Summit in Detroit, a third annual gathering of more than 1,200 builders, executives, institutional investors, and senior government and military officials with a shared goal, revitalizing America's industrial strength through technology, manufacturing, and policy. The NYSE is on the ground to support with its partnership with Reindustrialize. And joining me now is Austin Bishop. He is the co-founder of Reindustrialize. Austin, welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Busy day for you. So take us through what this summit is going to cover.
Yeah, look, I mean, when we started this, friends and I just thought we were going to get a number of friends of ours together to talk about, as you said, from everything from people who are in the investment world to startups to small, medium-sized businesses to folks in government who care about this broader need to reindustrialize our country. And what originally started as just a couple of folks hoping to have some beers over a cocktail hour has quickly gone viral and grown into something much bigger than any of us could have expected. So we want to provide really a canvas for all of those folks to come together every year and talk about these important issues.
What will the next few days look like?
Well, it's a little bit rock and roll, and it's a little bit board meeting, and it's a little bit startup conference. It's a mix of everything, and so we have folks showing up in Carhartts and three-piece suits and everything sort of in between. And it's really become a movement for all Americans, left, right, center, from the factory floor to the boardroom, and really everything in between, Main Street and Wall Street. And so it's hard to put a pin on exactly what it looks like. And I'd encourage everyone just to come and take a look. But it's going to look like companies getting started, companies getting founded, problems getting solved, and people coming together who care about, a unified mission.
And what are the toughest challenges you're hearing from the leaders that you're speaking with?
Well, from the industry side, it's and I would also say from the government side, it's a pretty unified, and even from employees and labor, it's a pretty unified set of problems, which I think is why we've struck something kind of viral here. Is there's so many different folks who from different walks of life who not only unified by the mission, but understand as similar or identifying similar problems. For us, we need more production here. We need more good blue collar jobs. We need more technology, but we can't have we can't have the American worker be subordinated to technological growth either. We also can't be Luddites and be scared of technological growth. And so I think there's something at the intersection of all of those different key stakeholders' concerns that we're hearing is resonating with everyone. And I'm hearing in all the conversations seems to be at the forefront of most people's minds.
How do you define reindustrialization?
Oh, I like it. That's too open-ended. I mean, for us, there's a lot of metrics you can measure. Whether in multiple years from now, I think we're going to see a lot of these productivity curves start to go up, and a number of other wonky metrics like that are the first thing that most people would think about of how you actually measure the success of something like this. But for us, it's really just harkening back to one of the things that made this country so great, which is it's a little bit messy, but you think about the Industrial Revolution, while it was born in Scotland, really, America really picked up that torch and ran with it. And so I think it's not a new thing. This is why it's called reindustrialize, not industrialize. It's about capturing that uniquely American dynamism and energy and bringing it to the forefront across all these different stakeholders.
And what do you see as the relationship or the interplay between AI and industry?
That is probably the most exciting part about this. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, from the Rust Belt. I wasn't part of this, but our forefathers spent decades offshoring so many of those jobs, and countless folks, nameless people, have lost their jobs and careers in places like St. Louis, Detroit, Chicago, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland. And what's really interesting about the intersection of AI and industry is the jobs are already gone. What's interesting now is AI, I think, it offers a promise where I think we're going to actually end up with a massive net new job production, especially in these industries, because what it does is it gives Americans superpowers. Automation and AI is going to allow the average worker, an average marginal worker, whether they're a welder or they're a small business owner, a shop worker, ability to leverage their time in a way that they couldn't previously, which is amazing and really, really encouraging.
All right, Austin Bishop, co-founder of Reindustrialize. Thank you for joining us on NYSE Live.
Hey, thanks for having me. We'll see you soon.
See ya. In other news, Helion Energy took a giant step forward as it scales the production of fusion power. Earlier this month, the Washington state-based company announced they completed a $465 million Series G funding round. Joining me now to share more is Prag Jain. He's the CFO of Helion Energy. Prag, welcome to the New York Stock Exchange.
Thank you for having me, Ashley.
And congratulations on your Series G.
Thank you.
How do you plan to allocate those funds?
So when we raised our Series F, which was the prior round that we announced in January, all those proceeds went towards increasing our manufacturing footprint and investing in our supply chain. This current, most recent round, our Series G, is going towards Orion, the first-of-a-kind fusion power plant, helping it accelerate our deployment towards building the world's first fusion power plant. Just this morning, we also announced that we received the regulatory clearance from the Department of Health in Washington to now operate the world's first fusion power plant. And we also, earlier this morning, announced our interconnect agreement with the Chilean PUD. So, fusion is here and now, not a couple of decades out.
You're saying fusion is here and now. How does fusion power work? What makes it unique?
Multiple things. So the NRC has regulated and specifically and said separated fission from fusion. We're governed not by the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, but by the Department of Health in the state of Washington, similar to how particle accelerators or university laboratories are governed. It's closer to, as you think about like the technology, there is no meltdown risk. There is no long-lived radioactive waste. And so, from our perspective, it has all the benefits of fission without any of the side effects of long-lived radioactive waste.
How is it different than the power grid?
It's similar. So at the end of the day, what the end consumer expects is power, and that's exactly what we're going to provide. But there are multiple differences that are unique to point out. Abundant, clean, reliable, cheap, green, baseload dispatchable power. And one of the lowest unit economic costs that you can think of vis-a-vis fission. So as you think about like the capex that's required, Helion's approach is extremely different. We're not using steam turbines. It's going to be direct electricity capture, highly circuit efficiency. And what that means is smaller generators, we don't even call them reactors, smaller generators that will power the grid in the future.
And what are data center operators telling you about their need for a ramped up energy supply?
So the IEA expects the power needs to double over the next decade. Clearly, to power that additional demand, you'll need new sources of energy. And fusion will have a key role to play into that. We're already seeing that from the first-of-a-kind PPA that Helion entered back in 2023 with Microsoft. That's what the Chilean PUD agreement that I mentioned, the first-of-a-kind power plant that we're building in Malaga, Washington, is going to go towards to power Microsoft's data centers. We're going to put that power on the grid that Constellation Energy is the power broker for. We've also separately announced a 500 megawatt energy development agreement with Nucor, the largest steel company in the US, where it probably will be a behind-the-meter solution.
All right, and what is next for Helion Energy?
So the vision of the company was always deploying gigawatts of power a year, and we're well on our way to deploy that.
All right, Prag Jain, CFO of Helion Energy, thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations again.
Thank you so much.
Coming up, quantum company OQC says its latest funding round is accelerating its development and expanding into new markets. Its CEO is going to dive into the details when we come back.
I know 100 years isn't much in the New York Stock Exchange laurels, but we're very proud. First U.S. airline to reach 100. The resilience and the determination to move forward despite all odds is something that I think we're all proud of. We've had a great opportunity to celebrate this year. The superpower of obsessing on our customers is what makes Delta really great. And my superpower, I'd like to think, is obsessing on them, on these people, so that they can go do the job. And it's not just me, it's our leadership team in terms of making it happen.
It's a bit of a pinch me moment. I mean, everyone's here. Here we just rung the New York Stock Exchange bell. In a lot of ways, it's a dream come true. When you walk around the NYSE floor, it's just emblematic of the American dream. Look, if I can do it, others can do it too. So believe in yourself, work hard, be the best you can be every day, and it compounds.
A plan to go and change the way people fly. It is the next step. When we look back at what we promised to go do and then we go do it, it'll be the foundation of our business that builds us to the next step. And it's because of the people here and what you all did, which was enabling greatness.
Welcome back to NYSE Live. Quantum company OQC recently announced it closed an approximately $350 million Series C funding round, which it says is Europe's largest ever private funding round for a quantum computing company. Joining me now is Gerald Mullally. He is the CEO of OQC. Gerald, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, so how do you plan to allocate this fresh capital?
Oh, we've got so much planned. So we're based out of the UK, but we're expanding internationally. And we've actually deployed the first ever quantum computer to New York City, serving Wall Street and our financial services customers. We're going to expand further, but importantly, this capital is about accelerating our roadmap. We're not far now from the commercial era of quantum computing, and we can serve more customers with this funding.
When you say you have this computer in New York that's serving the financial industry, what is it doing?
Yeah, so we work with our customers on a huge range of their most important and most complex topics, from fraud detection, derivative pricing, deep hedging, portfolio optimization. They're all the use cases which quantum is going to have an impact on both now and into the future.
So the easiest to understand definition of quantum that I've heard is it's basically a smarter, faster computer. And I do think our audience is just learning this term. What is your definition of quantum?
It's a fundamentally new type of compute. Probably the easiest way to understand it, just an intuitive example. Imagine a supercomputer. It's really like a set of keys on a keyring. It crunches through those keys one after another to find the right key. A quantum computer, and this is very difficult for the human mind to understand, it's like as if it can test all of those keys all at once. And on that basis, you can find the solution so much quicker.
How does quantum technology compare to AI?
It's a fundamental, powerful technology that will underpin AI. A key way of understanding it is about training acceleration, augmented inference, but the real use case for quantum to AI is the efficient generation of data. AI has already consumed the world's data when it comes to training of its models. It now needs new sources of data. Actually, classical computers are quite bad at generating certain types of more complex data. That's what quantum will be very good at, synthetically generating data that AI will then be trained upon. Now, it doesn't replace GPUs or CPUs. It will sit alongside those technologies. And we're the first and only company in the world to deploy quantum computers to commercial data centers in London, Tokyo, and now in New York. We launched the industry's first quantum AI data center with NVIDIA and our other partner, Digital Realty. And just last week, with Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan, we announced Europe's first quantum AI data center, and the first customer is Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan, and we're doing that with AMD.
Incredible. So quantum and AI are joining forces.
Exactly.
Okay, that's one supercomputer there. And how does your funding change your standing in the quantum environment, do you think?
We're now the best capitalized private company in the world. And for us, that gives the platform to deploy our technology internationally, importantly, to serve more customers, and as I mentioned, to accelerate our roadmap. This is a race, right? And we want to win that race. There's some great American companies, some great companies from around the world, but we can indicate with this funding, we can compete with them and we can win.
What are your key priorities as you expand into the U.S. market? You say you're here in New York now.
Yeah, there's twofold. The first is we've deployed the technology into the data center, and what that allows our customers to do is to access quantum as they do classical compute. This is not some insecure lab environment. This is where their other compute already exists. So by being in the data center, they're able to process their most sensitive data on our quantum computer within their own IT security constraints, and that's really important and really powerful. The second aspect is actually helping them learn how to use the technology. Right? It's a complex technology, we know that, but what we're doing also is we're able to facilitate and support them to use our technology using AI agents. And that means they don't need to program the quantum computer. It isn't more difficult to do. You just ask the agent, is there fraud in my data set? And it will execute now on our quantum computer. Importantly, I just mentioned fraud. I can announce today, here on your show, that MasterCard have invested in our Series C. And that's another indication of a customer working with us, building a huge amount of trust and the capability that we have, and then investing into the company. And that sits alongside Rocos Capital Management, Invus, and lots of other great companies that are based here, or great funds that are based here in New York.
You're partnering with all these NYSE-listed companies,
Yeah.
MasterCard, JP Morgan.
I love it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Such abundance, such excitement as we go to this next realm of computing. So thank you so much, Gerald Mullally, CEO of OQC, for joining us.
It's been great.
On NYSE Live.
Thank you very much.
Before we go, let's take one last look at the markets. Stocks are fractionally higher, less than 30 minutes into trade, with the Dow hitting a fresh intraday record above 52,000 for the first time ever. The large cap S&P 500 is also going to look to extend gains of more than 1.5%. That's after President Donald Trump announced this past weekend that the U.S. and Iran had reached a deal to end the conflict in the Middle East. The price of ICE Brent crude oil fell sharply on the news, dipping below $80 a barrel this morning for the first time since early March. That is going to do it for us on NYSE Live. I'm Ashley Mastronardi. We'll see you tomorrow at 9 a.m.
Welcome to the public market.
The New York Stock Exchange is a cathedral of the capital markets. So there are a few places more fitting to consider the future of American financial system than this one.
So thrilled for this next chapter to begin today with all of you in this historic building.
The day we went public, it was the most bizarre day of my life. He said, yesterday, Shake Shack was the most beloved hamburger company in the entire country. Today, it's going to be the most reviled stock. He said, you guys are never going to grow into your $46 valuation. How many Shacks did we have 10 years ago? 31 Shacks. And did I not just hear Rob say that we're going to have 1,500 Shacks? So yes, we grew into that $46. It's all because of you guys. I'm so proud of you, every one of you. You work so hard to make so many people happy, and you make your communities better. What more could you ask for?